What's up, guys? Welcome to the Early Prelims podcast. I'm your boy Feño, and we're here to talk about the UFC. So we have a pay-per-view and quite a significant one for me at least, because we had UFC 318. So we have the final fight of Dustin Poirier's career against Max Holloway for the BMF title. That part no one cares about. Um, but yeah, let's get right into the event from top to bottom. I'll be talking about my predictions, what I got right, what I got wrong, and also like where the fights go from here, the fighters go for from here, and all that kind of stuff, right? So let's get right into the main event. So Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier, they fought twice before. They fought for Max Holloway's debut in the UFC. They fought for the interim lightweight champion when Max Holloway was the undisputed featherweight champion some years ago, in which is my favorite fight of all time. And now they rematch for a final time with the stupid BMF title on the line. That part no one really cares, but yeah, I mean Dustin Poirier getting his retirement in New Orleans. As you guys know, he's from Lafayette in Louisiana, so he got the hometown send off here. But let's talk about the fight. First of all, like watching this fight live, I really wanted Dustin to look good. Even though I picked him, I knew that there was a big chance that he looked very old, and he would not be able to compete with Max Holloway. And that was kind of the case. I think Dustin looked okay, but he didn't look at the level needed to fight Max Holloway here. So let's get into the issues. I mean, let's get a recap of the fight first. So first round, uh, mostly a neutral space affair here, with Dustin trying to pressure at times, but Holloway being mobile. Holloway doing a good job of attacking the body, of kicking often. Um, what was one of the most effective tactics for Holloway here was intercepting body kicks as Dustin Poirier was trying to enter range, especially when he was shifting. Max Holloway with the 1-2s. And Dustin here, uh, his his reactions not quite there early in the fight, and that cost him because he got hurt pretty bad in the first round, two times on the second round. Uh, and I think I'm not sure if it was because he got hurt so early, or it's like this older version of Dustin Poirier, but not super willing to like stand his ground and try to counter inside the pocket. A lot of like retreats behind the stone wall, and he got dropped retreating behind the stone wall and with a 1-2 at one. I think it was 1-2 at one moment. I think that was on the first round. So, but then Poirier got like his defensive reads and he got a bit better about that. But he was having a lot of trouble tracking Holloway around the octagon. On the second round, Holloway like put him on the ground. He was following. He followed him to the ground. Could have gotten a finish. Some people are saying, "Oh, Max Holloway let it go." He kind of like, and I thought that, being honest, live, I thought like, okay, Holloway let Dustin off the hook a bit there. Watching it back, uh, I think it was like Holloway did not want to like force a finish. He was just landing very hard shots. He was going hard with the ground and pound, so Dustin could have gone out at any moment. So if Max didn't want to finish the fight, like he was not doing a great job. So I actually think that it was like Dustin actually surviving. Then Dustin hurt Holloway, I think with a rear left hook. Was it? End of the second round, goes for the gilly, ends up on mount, landing ground pound. So that second round was crazy. But from then on, the the dynamic of the matchup was that Dustin Poirier was landing very good with the jab, but was not able to get a lot more else going. Holloway just more mobile, um, just like for a version of Dustin Poirier that needed Holloway to like set in front of him, and and wait for him to leave, he was not getting that at all. So he was finding good success with the jab, but he was not able to follow it up a lot. And he was like, I feel like Poirier was like lacking confidence. He was like kind of scared of the counters, which has been a very nice development for Max Holloway later into his career. Like during his prime, Holloway never that big of a counterpuncher. Now let's talk about both things here. So first, Max Holloway, the power of Max Holloway. Okay, Max Holloway is sitting down on his punches more. He's punching hard for sure. I think he always had underrated pop, but now he's like picking his spots and he's putting a bit more like more weight transfers into his shots. So and also like the weight up at lightweight is helping. So yeah, he's punching harder for sure, but I don't think that Holloway like turned into this monstrous power puncher. I think like just in case you got blindsided here, Dustin was also getting hurt by shots that he was not like quite seeing coming. So I think Holloway is a puncher for sure, and I would defend like the power of Max Holloway even at featherweight, to be quite honest. So, but I don't think he transformed into like this beast of a puncher. And the second part is that Max Holloway is not on his prime anymore. I think Dustin here looked more degraded than Max. And I think that Max did a very good job of exploiting the parts of Dustin Poirier that are not at his best anymore. And I'm not saying this as scope for Dustin because as a Dustin fan, like it would be better to say like, oh, this was absolutely prime Max Holloway against an old Dustin Poirier. No, I think both guys were old here. Max is still very, very good, but he's not in his prime anymore. There's a reason that he's like circling more on the outside. He's not getting into that many. He's a lot more calculated in when he gets into exchanges, and he's using like more long range tools. He's trying to control the exchanges inside the pocket. But yeah, I mean, but Holloway is like still very good, out of his prime, but he's adapting to some of his like physical qualities that are decaying a little bit. So yeah, from after that, like rounds 3, 4, and 5 were kind of close, but like all like in favor of Max. I felt maybe round 4, like Dustin was landing a lot of hard jabs, and Dustin was not looking very concerned about the bodywork of Max. He wasn't looking like super tired or anything. I think you can maybe score like 2 and 4 for Dustin. And you can also score like every round for Max Holloway. I wouldn't have a problem with that, to be honest. So where do they go from here? Obviously, Dustin Poirier retires. So let's talk about a bit about Dustin, as I've been saying for a while now. Maybe my favorite fighter of all time. I've been watching him for super long. I wasn't like the biggest fan early on, but I remember like super enjoying his fight with Eric Koch back in the day, and that's not like super early Dustin Poirier, to be honest. But I remember like getting super aware about Dustin like around that time. Then when he fought Conor the first time, I started like really liking him, especially when he turned things around after the first Conor fight and he started looking like better and better and better. And then the lightweight run, especially after losing to Michael Johnson, that was magic, man. And there was a point that I wanted to make here is that I think the thing that separates, like, in an all-time conversation, Max Holloway from Dustin Poirier, I feel, is that Dustin Poirier, I feel like at their best when they are on, like, they are very similar quality level of fighters. I think like Max Holloway is a bit better than Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier obviously a bad matchup for him in a 1-to-1 scenario. We saw that in their prime. And we saw kind of that in this fight. It was like that Holloway had to do stuff to like take away the advantages that Dustin has in the matchup. But I think like they're pretty close, like skill-wise. I think the thing that separates Max Holloway from someone like Dustin Poirier was that Holloway is that kind of guy that always is going to show up to a fight. Like Holloway has been so insanely consistent, man. Like you can tell, you always know that Max Holloway is going to show up and he's going to give you hell. Like the only time that you could say that maybe Max Holloway looked a bit off was against Volkanovski on the third fight. And that's probably more of like Volkanovski being a bad matchup and coming in like his best version, very well prepared to deal with Holloway. That's like maybe the one time that Max Holloway did not look like at his absolute best. But Holloway is that kind of fighter that always, every time that he shows up to a fight, you know what you're going to encounter. You don't know what tools he's going to bring to the table, but you know that he's going to show up in top shape with great ideas, super sharp, well conditioned. And Dustin Poirier, like he shows up like in good condition always. He has very good skill set, but Dustin Poirier a bit more of a head case than Max Holloway. And I say this as from a place of love, obviously. Like I'm talking about my favorite fighter here, but I'm like trying to like explain why Dustin didn't reach like those heights, and it's because like when the when the when the lights were like on top of him, like you actually didn't know what you were going to get. Like if you go back and you see like the biggest fights in Dustin Poirier's career, like against Conor, the first fight, like that was like the first big fight of his career. Obviously, it wasn't a main event or anything, but Conor was already like a superstar at the moment. He was like this phenomenon fighter, and beating him was a big deal, right? So, and I think Poirier showed up with like decent preparation. He was obviously not a finished product skill wise at that moment, but he was like trying to do good stuff. But he was fighting nervous. He was tense, and he got clipped like behind the head, and he went down hard. And I feel because he was like so tense, he was like very nervous. He didn't was like himself that night. Not saying that he would have won otherwise, but it was like kind of a weird finish. Then he starts putting it together, right? Then he gets that main event against Michael Johnson. He's on a very good streak at lightweight. He's like this rising force against Michael Johnson, who you always know he's like 50-50 against any great fighter. And Dustin Poirier like shifts into range, gets hit. I don't think that was like Dustin Poirier not showing up, to be honest. It was more like he committed a mistake because he was not yet the final version of Dustin Poirier. So, and then after that, he gets that main event against Anthony Pettis. He shows up like big time there. Fights Alvarez. Those are big fights. The Justin Gaethje main event, like he shows the fuck up there. And I'm like, okay, maybe I can count on Dustin now. Maybe Dustin Poirier, like, maybe the Michael Johnson was just a thing that happened. And now Dustin Poirier is now like this super consistent guy. Seeing like he was beating Pettis, Jim Miller, where he actually like I think he had a super bad injury. I'm not sure if he broke his leg or what, but he still won that fight. And then the Gaethje fight, the Alvarez fights, and then he gets that interim title fight against Max Holloway. So by far the biggest fight of his career so far, and he shows up in like fantastic shape. And when I say shape, like not like in physical condition, obviously that too, but he was so sharp, so focused, so smart during that fight too, and it was like an all-timer performance for me. And Holloway, people say, oh, he wasn't a real lightweight at the moment. He was on his absolute prime, like champion of the world, moving up. Dustin was bigger for sure, and you could tell that Holloway was a lot bigger for this one. I'm not going to pretend that that's not the case, but I think that that Holloway that fought Dustin Poirier for the interim title, at that same size, he's hell for most lightweights. He's absolute hell for most lightweights, and you saw that in the fight. He was a monster of a dude. So I regard that win very highly for Dustin. But then Dustin gets his shot at the actual title against Khabib. And like we know in hindsight now, Khabib is a very bad matchup for Dustin, especially because Dustin at that moment already I think he was starting having problems with his hips, which diminished a lot his scrambling potential. But even like I'm not going to here to pretend like Dustin Poirier with hips like beats Khabib, but he probably has an okay shot at winning. But Dustin did not give himself the best chance in that fight. Didn't came. I'm not sure if it was the game plan. I think the guys on the corner actually wanted him to go forward, but he was not quite able to do it. Like he was overwhelmed, by the situation, by Khabib himself. All credit to Nurmagomedov, one of the best ever. But yeah, I don't feel like, not because he didn't win, but because of what he showed in that fight. That I think that was one case where like against like the Conor McGregor fight, like the lights were too bright for Dustin. He didn't quite show up, and that's when I'm saying like that's the difference, because like Max Holloway, he can lose a fight, but he's going to give his best and he's going to be sharp and focused every single time. So then Dustin, uh, time goes on. He has that epic fight with Dan Hooker, and then he fights Conor McGregor, the rematch. And this one is another one where he like showed the fuck up against Conor on the second fight. Big Dustin Poirier, looking fantastic there. Dustin always been a bit of a slow starter defensively. He starts pretty sharp offensively, but he always has like to figure out some stuff with his defense. I think that cost him like later into his career these like slow defensive starts. It cost him against Makhachev a lot of damage on that first round, so he was fighting uphill, and the same against Max Holloway. So that was one part of Dustin's game that didn't age very gracefully, I would say. But yeah, I mean Dustin, okay, it looks fantastic. Then Conor on the third fight, I don't give much to it. I mean, I think Dustin was looking good. He was beating Conor's ass, but I think he was coming into the fight with the confidence that he beat Conor pretty easily the first time around. And then I felt like it was trending that Dustin was going to win anyway without the leg break. So, and then Dustin against Oliveira, right? Another shot at the undisputed belt, and don't really think that Dustin showed up for that one either, man. I mean, he looked good. He was like, because he's a dog, man. But he could have fought better on the feet, and the approach to the ground was like bad. Part to blame was like American Top Team there. They were telling him to like not risk the get-ups, and that's probably because they were considering that Dustin was having like no hips for that fight, right? You can tell because of that role that he didn't have any like scrambling ability for that fight. And again, I'm not saying that he wins these fights, okay? I'm not saying like, oh, Dustin Poirier actually with hips, he's the GOAT. No. I'm here saying like, Dustin is not that level of guy. He's a level below the absolute best because of the inconsistency. And I think Dustin shows the hell up for the Oliveira fight, and that's still a super dangerous fight for him. We saw on the field like Oliveira looking fantastic in that fight, the bodywork, the heart, and obviously the grappling. But I feel like Dustin like gave himself up a little bit in that fight. Just like laying on his back, that took a lot out of him. Then when Oliveira took his back, he wasn't not willing to go to the ground and try to scramble. He like got choked out against the fence. It wasn't a great showing, I feel. Then he has like those old man fights like against Chandler, against Benoit Saint Denis, and then he gets another title shot against Islam Makhachev, which was not very deserved. And this is a case of a fight where Dustin lost, but I think he actually showed the fuck up for that fight. He looked very good. I don't know what kind of miracle happened, because like he somewhat had hips for that one. He came in with a very focused game plan of like feeding the single leg, legging out of that. Paring down the striking wasn't quite enough to beat Islam, who was at the peak of his powers, I would say, for that fight. But I feel like that was a very good performance, right? Unlike the Khabib one, I don't think that was great, and he got submitted in both, right? I like Islam is obviously a fighter where it's easier to take him deep than Khabib, but I think like Dustin looked a lot better despite physically being diminished for that fight. And then in this one, I think he kind of showed up. It's just like the body's not there anymore. Holloway's just better at this stage. And it is what it is. But I was going to explain that. But uh, some people like Mighty Mouse were like, "Oh, Dustin Poirier was just an up and down guy," and like, yeah, for sure, he was not the consistent champion that a guy like Max Holloway, that Demetrius Johnson was. Uh, but I mean, Jack Slack brought a very good point. Do you see that run that Dustin Poirier went uh, from losing to Michael Johnson to winning against Max Holloway? That run is like the stuff of legends. And Mighty Mouse, one of the best evers. I mean, one of the best ever. But he has those two. Those two couple of wins against Joseph Benavides and John Dodson that are insanely impressive, because those are like some of the best fighters to never win a title. But then he was defending the titles against literally just some guys. Like some guys that would not have a shot at fighting for the title in their divisions. And even some of his big wins after those, like Cejudo and Horiguchi, like very pre-prime. Like those versions were not great fighters. They were very good, and they had the potential to be like elite. And they went on to become elite fighters, Henry Cejudo and Kyoji Horiguchi. But at the time that they fought like Demetrius Johnson, like Dustin Poirier was fighting a way harder lineup during his prime than Demetrius Johnson. But then Demetrius Johnson still lost to a nobody. Then no disrespect to Adriano, but you know, like he was never like the best flyweight in the world. And I'm not saying like, oh, fuck you, Demetrius Mighty Mouse, just how can you disrespect my favorite fighter? I'm just saying like we need to put stuff into context, right? There's a reason why Dustin Poirier is so highly regarded, and it's because like he was one of the best MMA strikers, and he was putting it on the line against some of the other best MMA strikers at the time, in Max Holloway, in Justin Gaethje, in Eddie Alvarez. He was coming up on top on those fights during his best run, and he was fucking fantastic. Yeah, I mean, diamonds are forever. I will always love Dustin Poirier as a fighter. Just amazing. Max Holloway, one of the all-time greats. And even though I didn't quite enjoy the fight, even though it was a good fight, I didn't quite enjoy it. I'm happy that this was the fight, that Dustin gets to walk out after this fight against another like all-time great in Holloway, a guy who with him he has history with. So yeah, all around fantastic stuff. Happy for Dustin. Hoping a happy retirement for him. Max Holloway, what's next for him? Some people are saying like the rematch against Topuria. Don't quite like that, but we don't have like a super clear number one contender right now, right? Holloway was talking some trash again about the Bronx Charles Oliveira, because if you guys don't know, these guys were scheduled for a main event back in the day. They fought for like 2 minutes, and then like Oliveira grabbed his neck. He said he was injured, and I'm not making like accusations here, but what Max Holloway said, it was true. They took him to the hospital, they checked him, and there was nothing wrong with Oliveira. We don't know if he had like an anxiety attack, and even if you're a pro fighter, like having an anxiety attack doesn't make you like a bitch. It's something that can happen, right? I'm not saying that happened to Charles Oliveira, but even if it did, that doesn't make him any less of a man, in my opinion. So I'm not talking trash. I'm just saying, like, that was a weird fight, and I think a lot of us want to see it now, right? Old man Max Holloway against old man Charles Oliveira, like both, like they're not even old. I mean, both guys are like younger than me, I think, but not that I'm not old. But I'm saying, like, they have been fighting forever. They both were like prodigious kids coming into the UFC super early into their careers. It's time to make that fight, I think. Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira. Put the BMF title on the line, man. Like, make it a main event. Like, who would be against that? I'm all for that. That's my rant about Holloway versus Poirier 3. I picked Poirier. I admitted that I was kind of picking with the heart. But I thought like he was going to be able to like disrupt some of the process of Holloway. It was quite the contrary. It was Holloway who was like paring down the tools, systematically like breaking down Dustin Poirier. not in like the beat him up. Like I mean, he did kind of beat him up, but more in like taking the things that he wanted to do away from him. It was good stuff. So yeah, I was wrong on that one. Or co-main event, so Paulo Costa against Roman Kopylov. So Costa historically good against southpaws, but that was when he was pressuring like crazy. He hasn't been quite that dude anymore. And Kopylov, like a very slick southpaw striker, very powerful, dangerous too, but always had trouble with getting put on his heels, getting pushed back. So it was like, if Paulo Costa, my prediction I said, if Paulo Costa shows up with like his own pressuring ways, he has a very easy win in front of him. Wasn't quite the case in the sense that Paulo Costa was not like super keen on pressuring, and Kopylov didn't fall apart, mostly because he wasn't like pressured super hard. But Costa looked great here, I think. Paulo Costa looked great, and the thing that he did, he was not like super pressuring to the fence and loading long combinations, but what he was doing was like a similar pattern to what fighters that beat Kopylov do. He was taking a complete hold of the initiative here, using a lot of the rear hip and rear shoulder feints to threaten with the big right hand and the body kick and the head kick, and then he was like layering tools on top of that. I love that he was like kicking the body, kicking the legs with the rear leg, and then he started mixing the outside leg kick with the lead leg. Some nasty uppercuts to the body, straight shots, or the 1-2s. So Costa like trying to control the initiative when Kopylov was trying to like push forward himself. Costa was having a few sketchy moments, but he was like, he showed up with good eyes. He was regaining the initiative here and there with big shots. Love that Costa eventually started mixing the left hook to the body too. So he had those two like loopy like round options from the lead side, the outside leg kick and the left hook to the body, which is a shot that you don't see very often, like the lead hook to the body in the open stance matchups. You don't see a lot of that in MMA, so that was a very cool look. Kopylov tried to push hard on the third round. Costa a bit tired, but then Costa still took the round in my opinion at the end, man. End of the third round, I scored every round for Paulo Costa. I think he looked very, very good here. So yeah, picked Costa by second round knockout. Didn't quite get the finish, but I was right that Costa had it in him to win this fight. So before that, we have Daniel Rodriguez against Kevin Holland. On my prediction, I was expecting Holland to hurt Rodriguez on the second round and then submit him. But I said that Rodriguez could be a tricky matchup for Holland because like Rodriguez is a long southpaw. He fights very long, so he might be able to like punish some of the habits of Holland, especially because Holland like blitzes into range a lot despite being so long. Rodriguez a good counterpuncher despite his janky mechanics, and that was kind of the case. Like Rodriguez winning a very clean first round with striking, then he hurts Kevin Holland bad on that second round. But he got super wild trying to get the finish. Still did good stuff. Then on the third round, Kevin Holland puts him down like bad with an uppercut. And then he was still nailing him, but Rodriguez was like clinching at the right times. He got back into the fight. He landed a few key counters to keep himself there. And he was able to ride out that third round. At the end, he finished like on mount, landing some good strikes too. So, I mean, happy for Rodriguez, man. Kevin Holland, like, some people were like saying, oh, this is the end for Kevin Holland as a prospect. Bro, Kevin Holland was not a prospect. Kevin Holland like was like beating very old people at middleweight. Then he got like laid on top by everyone who had a top game. Then he moved to welterweight and he found like his actual level. This is his actual level. It's not like, oh, if Kevin Holland takes it serious. Like, he lacks process. He has some very big faults, especially defensively. He has been relying on his chin, and that doesn't last forever, especially because he has more than 40 fights. I'm not saying that he got exposed. This is his level. Kevin Holland is a very good fighter, but he's not like that elite level. He was never going to contend for the title, I feel. Not in a decent division like welterweight, which is getting repopulated by guys that can beat Kevin Holland right now. Very happy for D-Rod because I think he was looking like pretty washed for a stint, but I think he's kind of back. He's looking at his best again. I'm not sure how long is this going to last, but very cool. I like D-Rod, man. He's cool. He's a cool veteran, man. Patricio Pitbull fought Danige. Very slow fight. Danige tried to get going. But Pitbull like has the tools to make fights slow himself, right? It's not only that he throws very little, it's also that he has like very good defense, offers counter punching threat. He can wrestle too. He's very physically strong despite being small for the division. We saw that with Pitbull winning the first round, wrestling, taking him down. Then on that second round, he hurts Ige in a round that Ige was like getting going, putting the volume together, but Ige gets hurt. Ige, tremendous shin, very good at surviving. Pitbull did not like completely sell out for the finish. He thought that he was going to find another big shot. I think he didn't. And then on the third round, like Patricio gets kind of tired. He just starts to get going. Pitbull survives. Pitbull wins a decision, his first win in the UFC. Back to the drawing board for Ige. What's next for Pitbull? I'm not quite sure what to make with all Pitbull at the featherweight division, man. But happy for him. I mean, I like Ige a lot, but also like I didn't want people to think like, oh, Pitbull is this loser. Pitbull is all the shit, okay? He has been fighting forever. He has 43 fights. Like half of those have been against like insanely high level of opposition. So I was predicting an Ige decision here via output. You could see that fight was there, but Pitbull was able to get the big moments that he needed to win the fight. So I was kind of wrong there. Opener of the main card was Michael Johnson against Daniel Hoover. So Hoover, like I'm not quite sure what was the idea here. Like 70 or 80% of his output was ball kicks and high kicks to the open side against the southpaw Michael Johnson here, with little to no setup. Michael Johnson was like keeping a decent output, especially going with the two to the body. He was able to drop the Hoover bad on that second round with a left hand. So Hoover, he was showing some good looks. The few instances that he was deciding to do something a bit different, like a punching off the kicks or trying to put a 1-2 here, trying to go with the left hook, but he was not willing to put himself in the line, especially after getting hurt. He was kind of shocked with the speed of the old man Michael Johnson. So yeah, I mean, not a great performance by Zal Hoover. A very solid old man performance by Michael Johnson. So that was neat. The featured fight of the prelims was Vinicius Lockdog Oliveira against Kyler Phillips. Commentary was so annoying here, like they were like glazing Kyler Phillips. Oh, he's so technical. Vinicius Oliveira is a bomb that doesn't have any structure. Like Kyler Phillips doesn't have any structure of his own, man. Vinicius Oliveira just kept under pressure, kind of lost the first round, but then Phillips started hating his life, getting tired. Oliveira was punishing with counters. Very ugly punching form here by Oliveira, but he doesn't have like the game to punch someone that is moving around so much. But he had the right approach of just like following around the cage, catching kicks, throwing insanely hard at any chance, entering of the shoulder shove to keep to keep himself safe. I cannot speak, man. But yeah, I mean, Lockdog, man, he's a fucking beast. He's enormous for 135, and even he's very janky and wild. He's kind of smart in there, and he makes the right decision. He brings a dogfight out of you. Kyler Phillips did not like that. Vinicius Oliveira wins a decision. Big win for him. Before that, we have Brendan Allen against Marvin Vettori. Vettori showed up for this one, man. And I thought that Vettori looked like a lot better than he has in quite a time. But Brendan Allen here, Brendan Allen just better than Vettori, like better striker. Didn't go back to the grappling because like Vettori won a scramble, but I think he could have done so. But yeah, Allen looked very solid here. Just like, and Allen, another one of those orthodox fighters that are very good at fighting against southpaws. Just kicking to the open side, striking to the body, finding the left hook a lot against the southpaw here. Vettori was trying to find some some answers with his very limited toolset, but he was like using smart. Like he was like, okay, I'm not going to give anything for free. I'm just returning fire every time that Allen goes. But Allen was like having the first and the third word at many of the exchanges. It was a very close fight, but I felt like Allen won all the rounds. By the way, in Oliveira versus Kyler Phillips, I predicted a lock dog win by decision. I was correct. It was pretty much how I felt it was going to be. And in this one, I also predicted a Brendan Allen by decision, just like having the bigger moments, being like more venomous with his striking, more dangerous, and I think that was the case as well. Nikolai Bereternikov fought Francisco Prado. Prado lost a scramble in the first round, kind of got his ass kicked, and then on the feet too. But then Prado came back on round 2, very, very, very close. Prado has a bit of wrestling, but Bereternikov has some moments on the feet. And then on the third round, Prado just like kicking his ass. Despite getting taken down, he was like scrambling. Prado is a beast of an athlete, man, because he's small for 170. And that was what had me worried about this fight. I still picked Prado. Decision could have gone his way. Bereternikov, I was expecting the gas tank to be kind of suspect because he's so low output, and he got very tired on the third round. But Prado also gets kind of tired because he's fighting guys that are so big like Bereternikov, right? This went to a split, didn't go Prado or my way. Bereternikov wins a split. The decision was fine. You can score that for Bereternikov 1 and 2, no problem. Hateva Gauthier for Robert Valentin, and yeah, Gauthier just beating his ass immediately. Like, Gauthier is just like a monster, man. I'm not saying he's going to be champion or anything, but he's like so athletic, and he throws like from a composed place, and that's always very scary. Valentin got hurt super early, never had a chance of surviving here. I was predicting Gauthier knockout on the first round. I was correct. Then we have Dulatov's debut in the UFC against Adam Fugit. Dulatov did not go crazy here, but he opened up a few times and he was like going hard. When Fugit started to get a bit of success, he was starting to get a bit more confident, opening up more. Dulatov found like a super long left hook, put Fugit on the ground, finish him. I also predicted an Islam Dulatov first round knockout here, so another perfect prediction here. Jimmy Crute fought Marcin Pragno. I was expecting Jimmy Crute to just had the grappling advantage here. And even if the fight got tough, I thought that Jimmy Crute was more willing to fight hard. Wasn't quite necessary because he fought the armbar on the end of the first round. I predicted that Jimmy Crute was going to become the third man to submit Pragno. I said round 2 submission. It was a round 1 submission, but yeah, it was. Like, the analysis was on point. In fact, my predictions on the prelims were like on point, man. Ryan Spann for Lucas Bresky. And again, I was like, okay, Spann can get kind of sloppy, especially it seems like that's going to be a problem at heavyweight. But he's like a complete fighter, especially relative to the heavyweight fighters. Bresky has struggled on the ground in the past. I thought like, yeah, Spann's probably going to get his guillotine here. I predicted on the first round, and I was right. So another perfect prediction there. Bruno Ferreira welcomed Jackson McVeigh to the UFC. Ferreira, I said on my prediction, like, McVeigh is not very experienced against high-level opposition, and he might struggle against the level of athletes that you encounter in the UFC, and Bruno Ferreira is a perfect example of that. I think like McVeigh was not used to someone that it's like so explosive, so strong, and with the skill set too, because Ferreira like gave up his back sloppily in a clinch exchange on the feet, and McVeigh went for the back. McVeigh is a killer, man. But man, if there's one trope of fighter that you don't want to jump on their backs on their feet, is judo players, man. They know how to disarm that shit, and that's exactly what Ferreira did. Went to the ground, got on side control, and got a beautiful armbar in transition. I think I predicted Ferreira by second round knockout, but he got the submission on the first round. And then our opener, Carly Judis versus Nicole Cagliari. I was hyping this fight up. I thought that both girls looked very good in their last fight. And in their fights, respective fights with Karaskaite, which both lost. But I was having high expectation of this. The fight completely delivered. And Cagliari, even though I thought she looked decent, it was Judis who blew me away. And I was already hard on the Carly Judis train before this, but now I might be a fan for life because this was a fantastic performance, especially for a 7th fight in your pro career. My God, Carly Judis is a southpaw, is a demon southpaw, man. Just like the setups, how mechanically crisp she is, the change-ups. I loved everything about this, and the knees to the body, with which she ended the fight on the 3rd round. It's beautiful stuff. Like, my favorite performance of the night was by Carly Judis. That was great. That was great. I hope they don't cut Nicole Cagliari because she's also very solid, a very good athlete with solid tools for every range. Just that Carly Judis is special, man. I really feel like she's special. She still has some defensive flaws, but she's very, very good, man. And that was the event, man. Watching live was actually like, the fights were actually mostly very good, but so many early finishes. The pace was awful, man. And then I wasn't quite happy with the main event. It was a good fight, but it was sad to me to see like Dustin go out like that. Even though it was a very dignified way of going out, I wanted Dustin to look a bit better, man. So, but yeah, that was the event. Let's get into some fight announcements, and we'll get to previewing the next card, okay? Okay, we have Sam Patterson. He's back in action. He takes on Trey Waters. This is going on at UFC Paris. Lag freak on lag freak action. Those fights, for whatever reason, they are so used to being the tall guy that doesn't get hit that they're always delivering the action. They're always ugly and they always hit each other like super hard. So I'm kind of excited for this one. What else we have? Du Ho is fighting Whittaker Daniel Santos. Daniel Santos looked like $1 million on his featherweight debut. Despite being kind of chubby, he looks like so fucking good. Against a fellow Korean boxer in his last fight. So Du Ho coming from revenge. Kind of strange matchmaking, to be honest. Like, Du Ho looks so good against Nate Langwer. I thought they were going to give him someone like up the rankings. This is going on at UFC Perth on September. But it's a banger of a fight. Talking about bangers, Rong Zhu is fighting Austin Howard. I gotta side with Rong Zhu in this one. Like, he's looking more dynamic, more tight, more crisp. Probably the last, if Howard loses here, probably that's it for him in the UFC, which kind of sucks because I like Howard. He's solid. He's good. Not quite athletic enough, I think, for the UFC lightweight division. And the matchmaking has not been like super kind for Austin Howard. But yeah, should be a banger though. Should be a banger because Austin Howard is a dog. Rong Zhu is a dog. And he looks so fucking good in his last fight, man. This is going on at UFC Shanghai on August. Another like puzzling matchmaking here. We have Fares Siam against Kawe Fernandez. Also at UFC Paris. I guess they just needed to get Siam a fight. But yeah, Siam has been on a run. And Kawe Fernandez, like, what has he done? Like, he failed to finish like the corpse of Grant Kutatatlatse, so I'm not insanely impressed by that. I think Fares Siam is going to run away with this one. But it's still a cool fight. Like, Kawe is long, he's a good kicker, so we'll see how Siam deals with that. We have Onk on Onk violence here. We have Neil Magny against Eliseo Zaleski dos Santos. Dos Santos should win here, but his approach to fights is sometimes like very head scratching. And Neil Magny, like, he's old, but he's still very consistent. Zaleski might just kill him, and Zaleski should he should try to kick the legs out of Neil Magny here, and he should be fine. But you never know if he's going to do it. What else we have? Former champion Raquel Pennington is fighting Norma Dumont at UFC Noche UFC on September. I love Rocky, but I think Norma Dumont is going to kick her ass. I don't think that Pennington has been looking very great physically as of late. She's still very tough. She's still a dog, but Dumont like too athletic and too skilled to be over to get overwhelmed by someone just being a dog, right? I think this is completely like Norma Dumont's fight, and I hope she gets a title shot after this one. What else we have? Edgar Chairez is fighting Alessandro Costa. Absolute banger, man. Action fight. This is going on at Noche UFC. Chairez already had a banger in Noche UFC. He comes for another one. Costa is always in bangers, so yeah, very excited about this one. This one is going to rule. What else we have? Oh, Jeff Neal is fighting Carlos Prates at UFC 319. Excited about this one. Southpaw on Southpaw violence. I gotta side with Prates, man. I don't think that Prates is very easy to solve as a striker, especially if you don't have like super high volume like Ian Gary had. Neal, I feel, is a lot more limited in a Southpaw versus Southpaw fight than Prates. Prates, I feel he's going to kick the legs. He's still going to find the knees. He's the longer fighter too. So yeah, I feel like Prates wins this one. But Neal is like a tough task for anyone. If anything, either of these guys should be beating the shit out of Joaquin Buckley and get that like hype. But it's a very cool fight. Martin Budai is welcoming Buchecha, Marcus Almeida, to the UFC. This is going on this Saturday, actually. So yeah, for those of you that don't know, Buchecha, like insanely decorated grappler. In gi, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, in a CDD. Abu Dhabi Combat Club, ADCC. I had to say it, like speak it out loud to remember how it is. But yeah, Buchecha is like, he was in one. He lost a fight to Rook, so that's not looking great, right? I mean, Rook is a beast, but still, we'll see. Is Buchecha going to take down Budai and kill him? Budai is a very big lad, and he's very solid on the feet, and he's like a good clincher. So not a free matchup for Buchecha on his debut. Rakic is fighting the professional Murzakanov. Very excited about this one. Like a Japan level of competition for Murzakanov. Rakic takes a step back, and he's supposed to, right, after the last few fights. Very excited to see if Murzakanov can pull this one off. Like, Rakic is very long, and he's like mechanically tighter than most of the guys that Murzakanov have been fighting. I still think that Murzakanov is the more dangerous and more nuanced striker of the two, but he's dealing with a big like reach and height disadvantage. I mean, he's kind of used to that, but I guess a better fighter here, someone that is very, very athletic and big in Rakic. But it's very interesting. I like this fight. Finally, Steve Erceg was supposed to fight Alex Perez, and Perez is out because he's cursed. And we have Hyun Sung Park, who has been looking fantastic in his UFC tenure so far. Very well rounded, good striker, good grappler. This one should be very, very good. And I feel like this is good matchmaking. Like, Steve Erceg finally gets a step down in competition, but against someone very dangerous. And Hyun Sung Park, like, he earned his step up in competition. Especially after like finishing Hernandez. Like, you gotta remember, like, Hernandez is a monster. And he submitted him in the first round. Like, Rey Suruya was not able to do that. Tuven Demberel lost to Hernandez. So, and now, like, Hyun Sung Park finishes on the first round. He gets the step up in competition, especially taking this in short notice. Very interested to see how this one goes down. And with that, we get to this weekend's main event. So we have UFC Abu Dhabi, Whittaker versus The Reader. So main event, Robert Whittaker versus Reiner The Reader. Whittaker coming off. Is that Paulo Costa fight the last time we saw Whittaker? Oh, no, he lost to Chimaev. Yeah, he got his jaw crushed by hands of Chimaev. And the Reader is riding all the hype after completely derailing Bo Nickel, who doesn't seem to exist anymore. So very hard to come out with. I don't know what to think about this fight, to be honest. Whittaker seems like a pretty bad matchup for the Reader, but the Reader is big. He can clinch, he can kick, he's the better grappler. He's coming with the momentum. Whittaker has had more fights, he's like more shop-worn of the two. So yeah, I mean, Whittaker might be able to make the Reader like look like trash early, but if the Reader can like start like kneeing him in the body inside the clinch, maybe he gets back to that. Not that Whittaker is super easy to clinch. And also, like, Whittaker has been vulnerable to kicks historically. Maybe the Reader can get like a kicky game plan going and then try to get the wrestling. Whittaker still very hard to wrestle, but we saw against Chimaev like not impossible to do. I don't know. It's like very interesting fight, but I'm not quite sure about it. If this was like closer to Prime Roller Whittaker, I would like pick him in an instant. But the Reader is like kind of bad for someone that is aging, right? He's like so big. He's kind of nasty. But I still feel like Robert Whittaker is going to round town on the Reader with the jab. But if Whittaker gets hit with anything big and this one goes to the ground, like the Reader is a monster there. So I don't know. Our co-main event is Petr Yan against Marcus McGee. Fantastic fight. I've been talking about this one for a bit since they announced this. I think Petr Yan is a pretty bad matchup for McGee, actually. Like, McGee relies a lot on, like, his streaks, shifting entries, closing with big movements. Petr Yan is going to put, like, the nuanced pressure. He's going to close the distance without McGee realizing with small steps, with behind his jab, behind hand fights. Petr Yan can also, like, compete no problem with McGee in the kicking range. They might wrestle, too. I don't know, I feel like Petr Yan is going to be one step ahead. McGee obviously is very dangerous, not super old, and not chop-worn at all. While Petr Yan is like... Petr Yan also not super old, but he has been in quite a few fights. He looks like Petr Yan is not in his prime anymore, I feel, but we'll see about that. Chara Bullet is fighting Marc-Andre Barriault. I feel like they're very trying to get Chara Bullet like back on track, giving him an easy win here. Hey, but Barriault is coming off of that nasty knockout, right? He came back in the last one, right? Oh, yeah, Bruno Silva, he killed him with the elbows. Oh, that was nasty, man. That was disgusting. But yeah, Barriault is not on a great run otherwise. Very clear that they... And he's not a great wrestler either, so I think it's very clear that they try to get Chara Bullet a win here. Asuma Mabayev sees action since losing to Michael Johnson last year. He comes back against Jose Ochoa. Jose Ochoa looked tremendous against Cody Durden. So this one should be a banger. And Ochoa is a capable grappler, man. So this one should be a lot of fun. I'm excited about this one. Nikita Krylov comes back after getting absolutely deaded by Dominic Cruz. He's fighting Bogdan Guskov. Guskov might be bad news for Krylov on the inside, especially if they start like exchanging in boxing range. Guskov, I feel like he can find the shin and can put him out. But Krylov has that kicking range, he has the grappling. Guskov a solid grappler too, but Krylov is kind of dangerous on the ground, so it's a solid fight for like heavyweight. Bryce Mitchell is welcome to the bantamweight division, but Said Nurmagomedov, we talked about this one not long ago. I wonder how Bryce Mitchell is going to look physically at 135. He might be a bit too slow for Nurmagomedov, but if Mitchell is like a more imposing and physical wrestler than 135, he might be a problem because like I feel like his game translates very well to being the bigger guy on top position on the ground. Muslim Stalikov is getting fed to Carlos Leal. It's going to suck, I feel. I'm not going to say more about that. Damon Blackshear is fighting Davy Grant. Banger. I was kind of a Damon Blackshear hater before. I thought he was like kind of aimless. Didn't quite like the process. But he looked very good in his last fight. And David Grant, you know, he's a beast. He's like 40 years old and he comes and puts on a banger once a year and leaves. I'm excited about this one because both guys like very well rounded. good cardio, very big for the division, long. So this might be a bit of a messy one, but I like it. I like it. Amanda Ribas is fighting Tabata Ricci. Haven't liked the direction of Amanda Ribas later on her career. I think she had more potential than he has shown. Tabata Ricci, not a fan, but she's solid. She's a very good athlete. She might be able to like get takedowns on Ribas. I don't know. It seems like a well-matched fight, to be quite honest. Ivo Aslan is fighting Billy Elikana. It's like a banger at 205. Not much else to say there. Mohamed Yahya is fighting Steven Wen. Mohamed Yahya is that guy that was like UAE Warrior. Yeah, his nickname is the UAE Warrior. He was champion at UAE Warriors. And then he debuted against Robert Peak and against Scout Fernandez, and he looked like trash both times. He's a guy that I don't feel like he was like just a well-rounded, solid guy on the regional scene, and that hasn't quite translated to the UFC. Steven Wen, I don't remember, man. He fought AJ Cunningham on Contender Series and then lost against Jarno Aarons. I think I kind of remember that Aarons fight. Like, Aarons looked great there. But yeah, I mean, don't have a lot to say about that fight. And the opener is Budai against Buchecha. We already talked about that one. So yeah, that's the event. This was supposed to have Movsar Ibloyev against Aaron Pico, and it seems like they are not keeping Pico in the card because it was Ibloyev the one who pulled out. Which is a shame, but also like it was a dirty move to the UFC to put him against Pico, like the worst matchup in the world that no one knows about. It was kind of dirty, to be quite honest. And that's the card. And that's the podcast. Thank you guys, as always, for joining me. I'll be back during the week. I'll be podcasting with my dear friend Dan Albert. We'll be talking about Dustin versus Holloway and the pay-per-view as a whole. I might be releasing a video about Dustin Max 2 as my favorite fight. Why I like it so much, why I feel it's so good. And also, I think I might be doing a watch-along Dustin Poirier fights stream. So I'll be putting like the clock and what fight we're watching on the screen. It will be on you guys to find the fight, whatever way you want you can. And then we can watch those fights together. Remember the good times about the diamond. Looking forward to that. Thank you as always for listening to this, guys. If you want to support me, you can always head over to Patreon. I'll be putting some alternate commentaries on some classic Dustin fights on there. So if you want to watch those with my observations, go and check out the Patreon. There's a lot of exclusive content too. So check that out. And I'll catch you guys. We'll be back on Saturday with the Fight Companion. So look out for that. That's it, guys. Thank you. Bye.